How many times do I need to teach you this lesson, old man? Living Wish is not playable in Legacy. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be playing with Living Wish. And this is a card that I don't really think is great in Legacy. The tempo hit that you take for paying 2 mana to tutor is oftentimes not worth the selection that you get. And people have tried to make me play Living Wish Enchantress, Living Wish Depths, and all sorts of other jank with Living Wish, like Nick Fit, and most of the time the answer is, man, I wish this card wasn't in my deck. Today we're going to be playing with it in the Dark Depths shell. And as you probably know, we can use Thespian Stage to copy Dark Depths to make Marit Lage, or we can use Vampire Hexmage to rip all the counters off of it and get our Marit Lage that way. Although there is also one other thing our Vampire Hexmage can do, and that's instantly flip a battle. So if you cast this for X equals 2, you can use this to tutor up a Vampire Hexmage, and then instantly flip it into an 8/8 reach. The tail end of text here is not flavor text. For each non-human creature you control, you can have it deal combat damage like it wasn't blocked. That's a really good way to force your Marit Lage damage through something crazy like an army of Thopters from Sai. So let's take a look at the full deck list here. Now, today's video is sponsored by both Moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. And remember, if you need paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. So this is the deck list in its entirety. And if you take a look at the sideboard, you'll notice a whole bunch of singletons. And the idea is that Living Wish gives you utility that you normally would not have at the cost of speed. Going into the league, based on my experience, I think the Living Wish is going to be quite bad. This is an A plus B combo deck, where you need to assemble Dark Depths and one of either Vampire Hexmage or Thespian Stage. And you want to do this quickly. Your deck is not built to grind. You don't want to play the long game. You want to make a tentacle monster kill your opponent and move on to the sideboard games. But by taking 3 of your combo pieces out of your deck list, you lose out on a huge portion of that speed. You do so that Living Wish is a copy of each one of those instead of a copy of a single one of those. But Legacy's so fast right now. Cards have gotten so good that I don't think the utility of Living Wish is going to be worth dropping that speed, especially when we get paired against something very fast like Reanimator or Doomsday. We need to be able to go fast. But maybe I'll be wrong. One final notable thing here, both Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, as well as the slightly off-screen Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, can turn Dark Depths into a mana-producing land, which can be important for some of our fastest goldfishes here. So let's see if Depths has what it takes to hang in our post-Lord of the Rings world, where the format has gotten much, much more powerful. Maybe Not of This World will counter something today, and it'll be a lot of fun. All right, let's battle. All right, this is a great hand. We probably go, Ancient Tomb into Thespian Stage into Depths. We don't currently have the ability to go and play Sylvan Safekeeper, but that's probably okay. Depending on what my opponent does, I may end up Urborging instead of Ancient Tomb, because that'll be the same clock. Narcomoeba? F. Okay, so you remember how I talked about speed being important? This is a great example of that. We're going to die on turn 1. All right. Oh. Sorry, we're going to die on turn 2. Correction, we're going to die on turn 1. So just in case you haven't seen this combo before, what's going to happen is that my opponent is going to go and mill 3 Narcomoebas because they don't have any lands. They will then go and cast a Dread Return from Graveyard. And this will target the Thassa's Oracle that's there. I'm not going to let them know what matchup this is, and we are going to concede. All right. As far as the post-sideboard games go, Leyline is fine. Endurance is fine. Collector Oof has text, and I might need to just play it. because this matchup is going to be rough. I can absolutely sideboard out all the copies of Not of This World. I don't think I have time for Living Wish to be copies of Endurance. Crop rotation for Bojuka Bog as well. Yeah, I don't think I have time for this to become Endurance. This is 60, but if I do this, I have 3 combo pieces hanging out in exile. Don't need Sylvan's Safekeeper here. That'll get a Dark Depths back into the deck. I'll cut a Caracas for a Thespian stage, and then let's just junk the slow card to just bring the Vampire Hexmage back into the main deck here. A little sketch. I'm going to keep it. So the question is, do I duress my opponent to take their answer to Leyline? I think so. It's just awkward. All right, let's see what you got. It's Foundation Breaker instead. Rough. I guess mana is a bottleneck for them, at least for right now. Summoner's Pact can represent a green spirit guide. Allows a Foundation Breaker most easily, so I think I'm going to take that. And we're going to stage and pass. All right. Oh, Lotus Petal. Fuck. I'm dead on my next turn. This is Dark Ritual, 2 mana. Oh. Okay, this is going to be the same overall effect. Yeah, that's fine. So I need a green mana source so that I can crop rotation. Well, that's cheeky. So we're going to go ahead and Pithing Needle. We'll name Undercity Informer. I can Ghost Quarter this land. My opponent does not have basics. I'm not going to do that now, though. Because there's some worlds where I need to crop rotation myself. And to do that, I need to Ghost Quarter my own land. Guess I don't need to do that anymore. I do need to check for a basic. I presume that I play one. Yeah, I play one of each. Yeah, I think I'm just chilling for now. At some point, I do need to respect just Ghost Quartering Agadeem. I don't think I'm there yet. Crop rotation for Urborg? Float mana. Spirit Guide. Crop rotation. Turn this into Urborg. It'll be able to cast Hexmage. It just drops Bojuka Bog, which I don't love. I think I'm just going to pass the turn. All right, I'm at 14. Okay. This I like better. This brings me to 13. I can grab Bayou, and then I can just kill my opponent on my next turn. End of turn, float a mana, crop rotation, get Dark Depths, floating mana, and Spirit Guide activate. That's fine. I can crop rotation for Bojuka Bog if my opponent presents a win. Otherwise, I just eat 2 and move on with life. Float mana. Green. Crop rotation. Sacrifice Ghost Quarter. Get to Dark Depths. Activate Thespian Stage. Targeting Dark Depths. Keep the one with no counters. And then kill my opponent. Alright, now I have to win a game on the draw, which is tough. Is there any land that I want to sub out for, say, Boseiju? Caracas can come out for another Ghost Quarter, I guess. Technically blow up my opponent's lands. Even though I had the option to that game, it was just very awkward for me to do so. I mean, my hand has a Leyline, so I will keep it. Leyline into Duress is solid. Again, my opponent can just beat me to death with like 2-3 creatures. My hand doesn't really do anything beyond 2 points of disruption. But that might be good enough. Do I play Urborg here? I probably play Urborg here. sometimes has a negative effect for me in playing it. There's a Once Upon a Time. Finding a Spy. So I probably just take the alternate win condition here of Goblin Charbelcher. It's tempting to take the land and just try to stick them with no resources, but that deck is just full of mana. We will put a Dark Depths into play and pass. That way, if we draw a Thespian stage next turn, we can just do the thing. Battle's fine. There's both Spirit Guides. They top decked another Goblin Charbelcher. Alright. They will have to get to 3 mana to activate that, and they need to get to 3 mana to activate that this turn when their only card is Spy. So I win the game unless their top card is Dark Ritual. Alright, we dodged. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes, so please consider checking them out. Alright, I've kept my opening hand here, which is very strong. This is turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Depths, and Vampire Hexmage. Fuck. There's 2 different cards there that I care about. This is just gross. I think I am supposed to take the Force of Will, so Vampire Hexmage can resolve, and then I just beat my opponent to death with a Vampire Hexmage and save Dark Depths until I can find something like Not of This World to back it up. Bam. Bam. Alright, cool. So there's the land drop from my opponent, and they've just got to chill. Crop Rotation is a great draw. Let's go ahead and attack. Opponent goes to 18. I'll pass the turn. We'll see if things get a little awkward. They do get a little awkward. I'm just going to confirm that Sajiri is in my deck list. It is. All right. So let's do this. I'll make my 20/20. And hopefully my opponent does not brainstorm into a Force of Will. Damn it. So if I fetch and cast Crop Rotation here, my opponent just gets to Swords in response. So savage. Alright. I will Crop Rotation and sack this. Fuck me. Okay. My opponent still has the Swords for the future. That was brutal. I'm going to just lose to this card. I'm gonna pause the turn here. I don't think it's worth playing this out as a 2/2. Because if I do, like, my opponent swords it and then fourths, and I'm just in an awful position. Not that I'm not just in an awful position anyway. Definitely feeling the power creep. Like, I'm just going to get left in the dust by that card. That's just 4 damage a turn plus draw a card every turn for the rest of the game. And this is not an effective answer to my opponent's resources. Thoughtseize feels pretty bad in a world where my opponent is the Monarch. I'm done. Next game. Yikes. So, another downside of playing a sideboard that's a Living Wish sideboard is you don't have a real sideboard. So, like, Pithing Needle, for example, is not a card that I'm very excited about in this matchup, but it's probably one that I'm going to have to just keep in my deck. Ugh. Yeah, not a fan here. Okay, I have a reasonable keep here that I probably can't just play out at maximum speed. Do I want to just name Flooded Strand here? Or do I just name Teferi? I'm just going to name Teferi. I assume that enough different things can go wrong here that I should just plan for the game going long. There's Tundra. We'll see if a prismatic ending hits Pithing Needle. It does not. I think I slow my roll for a turn and get the green source into play. It can be the basic forest because that is also Bayou right now. Okay, that's fine. Like, I just need to attempt to go for the Dark Depths combo when I have crop rotation available. Alright. So, I can go for it at my opponent's end step, technically. And I may do that, since my opponent already burned 1 Swords to Plowshares. It's just awkward. This might be my opportunity where I fire off crop rotation before my opponent can draw into more counterspells. See how they feel about this. Fuck! This is a nightmare matchup. My opponent has so much removal, and specifically minor misstep. Alright. Once more. I guess this can eat a Force of Negation if I do it now, but it doesn't let my opponent untap, which is important. Alright. There's a Thespian stage. I'll make the Tentacle Monster on my opponent's end step, and we'll see if it's good enough. It is going to take probably Swords to Plowshare specifically to beat me here. Opponent has 7 cards, and they're missing land drops, so like there's a very good chance they have it. But I've burned through 2 crop rotations already, and I have another Dark Depths in hand to try, like, to start working towards trying again. Alright, you got it? I got it. Ugh. Alright. Do this. Since one of these is on a Teferi, I'm going to go ahead and cast the other one. And we're going to name a fetch land since they are stuck on mana. Okay, cool. We can start slow ticking down, which is almost never going to be relevant, but you never know. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, they have removed the one on Flooded Strand. And we'll go ahead and remove an ice counter. Dress down, eats it. Cast a Lotus Petal. Cast a Living Wish. Have not made a land drop. So I suppose I would rather use Thespian stage. Alright. Good stuff. This is a matchup that's slow enough for the Living Wish to be reasonable. Uh-huh. Snapcaster Mage targets Brainstorm. Okay. That feels worse to me than taking no game actions. Sacrifice the Lotus Petal. Keep this. Make a 20/20 flyer. And hit my opponent for 20. Alright. Now I have to do that again. Which I'm not excited about. I'm not excited about this hand. But I think I am going to keep it. Like, I won that last game on turn 8 or turn 9. And I think that's approximately the pace that I should expect this game to go at, assuming that my opponent interacts with me. So just having a hand that has 2 different pieces of protection and maybe 1.5 combo pieces in hand already is perfectly reasonable. A Duress. I need to do this off of Verdant. I will do this off a non-basic. It's possible I should wait longer on this, but the information here is pretty valuable. Okay. How do I want to fight? I kind of want to just take the 4th Aerlingas so that my opponent can't draw extra cards. Ever. If I take Prismatic Ending, I can always lock out to Fairy. And then I just plan on beating Path with Not of This World. I'm going to take the 4th Aerlingas. I just don't have everything that I need to start getting through this game quickly. That helps a bit. Let's go ahead and Pithing Needle. Oh. I think I use this as an opportunity to resolve crop rotation when I'm pretty darn sure it is going to resolve. I will sacrifice the Bayou to go and get a Dark Depths. My Not of This World becomes much more awkward when I have a Teferi to deal with, though. Maybe we can deal with that barely, though. My opponent does minus the Teferi to just immediately draw a card. I will cast a Living Wish. That is a catastrophic force of will. Alright. I'll get this tapped land out of the way and clear the graveyard for like Mystic Sanctuary based reasons. But my opponent has access to 2.5 removal spells that I know about. Has to be done at sorcery speed. Awkward. I think I'm just not ready for that card yet. Just going to manually remove an ice counter and call it good just so I can F6 my opponent's turn. See if I get punished for being lazy by back to basics. So there's a fetch to clear the brainstorm. Prismatic Ending is probably a maybe in my opponent's hand at this point. Alright, let's chill. No fetch off that Scalding turn is bad for me. That means my opponent's hand is just gas. I also have to keep in mind Prismatic Ending can happen at instant speed due to Teferi. Is this good enough? I can Thoughtseize one of these two away. I think I wait. If I wait, there's some amount of time where my opponent does fetch away a Prismatic Ending. And I Thoughtseize a little bit later on. Sure. And my opponent can bounce their Snapcaster Mage to redo Path or Prismatic Ending. Oh yeah, this feels bad. Note that I think I already would be dead if I had left 4th Aerlingas in their hand. Like, this is a pain in the ass, but is technically beatable. Yeah. Sure, that's fine. And then end of turn, we will remove some counters. And move on with our lives. I just know this Thoughtseize isn't good enough right now. So I wait. Yep. And then same thing, end of turn. We'll remove some more ice counters. And be at 5. Not a lot of help coming off the top of the deck here. And now my opponent gets to just like Snapcaster and Ponder. And continue to set up their hand. I basically instantly died to 4th Aerlingas. But I'm also probably effectively dead just due to the number of cards my opponent has in their hand. Yeah, there it is. So I'm literally dead next turn. Or I guess I'll be at 1 next turn. But like I can't cast the Thoughtseize anymore or I die. I'll remove 2 ice counters. Again, probably not going to be relevant. And it's like Path to Exile and Prismatic Ending, both of which deal with my thing without giving life, so even Crop Rotation doesn't do it. Just to take a peek, see over there to see how dead I was. Let's Thoughtseize. Very dead. Very dead. Concede. GG's. Okay, I am on the play. My opponent has revealed a Yorion. Turn 1, Pithing Needle, Wasteland. Turn 2, Vampire Hexmage, Dark Depths, go. Lose to Swords of Plowshares. Alright. Urborg. Needle. Name Wasteland, pass. Savannah, pass. Do I want to YOLO this? Fetch Bayou. Do I have Sylvan's Safekeeper in the sideboard? No. No Sylvan Safekeeper in the sideboard. Rough. Yeah, then I guess I want to YOLO this. Pass the turn. And Living Wish can't get me protection. That is so very sad. I believe it is correct to YOLO. I just not lose, but I'm in bad shape every time that happens. Okay. Play Thespian Stage this turn. Or I guess I can do it this way. Cast Living Wish. Get Dark Depths. Play Dark Depths. Play Pithing Needle. My opponent will fetch in response. Tundra. That's the case. I'll name Teferi Time Raveler. And pass the turn. I get to try again next turn. Lanes. Burrow's fine. It's annoying because the difference between 20 and 22 is the difference between Prismatic Ending killing my opponent, or sorry, Prismatic Ending being able to kill my Merit Lodge and not. Okay. Gonna be like a Halfling and Abundant Growth. Sure, that's fine. Alright. Stage Pass. And we're just kind of at the mercy of whether or not my opponent has an answer to my Dark Depths. Very good chance they do. If I can deal 20 to them and make them not be able to fetch, that potentially keeps them off of Uro, at least for a little while, even if they do answer it. Now they can Uro no matter what. It's pretty bad for me. We'll do the thing end of turn. Keep the one with no counters. Get a Bayou. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I lose this game in very short order to Uro. I don't cast Thoughtseize now. I wait to see if there's a turn where I can attempt to combo off again. And note, I do recognize that I'm at 40 life, but it's the raw cards that are just going to defeat me. Like, as we saw in previous rounds, the just like Swords of Plowshares, Prismatic Ending, Path to Exile, pile O things does a very good job at keeping my deck in check. I will fully deck thin here. Hello? Got some weird lag there. Yeah, very cool deck. I'm gonna fast forward this game. I think the interesting part of this game is over. Alright, I've conceded 2 or 3 turns later when my opponent has Uro, Omnoth, Leovold, which neutered the Karakas that I drew, and a 2-turn clock with plenty of protection and extra blockers and double the life of a Merit Lodge hit at their disposal. So again, I don't have a real sideboard. So I can't sideboard. And I'm very frustrated by the fact that I don't just have a good backup plan. Like, this is an all-in Merit Lodge deck where, like, that's the way that I have to win. I don't just have Elvish Reclaimers and Night of the Reliquaries that I can lean back on to just attack for 3+ damage every turn against these control decks. So yeah. I guess I'll play one of these as a fair creature. If I am willing to YOLO, turn 1, probably sorcery speed, crop rotation for Dark Depths. Turn 2, Hexmage go. I'm going to keep it. I rotate away basic forest. Alright. Success. I have found Dark Depths. And my opponent gets to just chill. Living Wish sure doesn't get protection still. My opponent is like Schrodinger's dead, where they're dead if they don't have Swords to Plowshares specifically. I can't wish for protection. I'm probably just supposed to put their fucking Yorion deck to the test. And say, like, if you don't have swords, you're dead. I don't care if they have Icefang Coatl and they get to buy a turn. Can Living Wish get me anything that beats Icefang Coatl here? Negative. Get in there. Alright. That buys my opponent a turn. I now will cast a Living Wish. Card sucks, because I don't know which half of the combo I need, but I also need to just do this for tempo-based reasons. So I'm going to grab a castable creature that has power and toughness in case I lose this Merit Lodge. Alright, this opponent needs to find my opponent white mana and a removal spell, if they don't already have one or the other. Well, okay. My opponent had 10 cards in hand, and none of them did anything. So we put a W on the board. This hand doesn't do anything. Like, I can eliminate some of my opponent's outs, but that's not the zone where I want that card. This hand also does nothing. It almost does a lot of things. It's fine if I draw a land. What are we talking percentage-wise here? 25? 70% to hit a land in 2 draws, much higher than that if I also count hitting Lotus Petals as successes. I think I will keep this accordingly. I think the game on the draw is very hard, so unless my opponent to fairies, just having a hand with some bonus protection is very nice. Okay. I am going to cast this card. I'm gonna name Boseiju. Fuck. That's so bad. Uh-huh. I do have Elvish Spirit Guide crop rotation, but I was planning on using Elvish Spirit Guide to Living Wish and make my land drop, so that's not happening anymore. I missed on my 70%er. I mean, I didn't rerun the numbers, but it's actually closer to 80. God damn it. Crop rotation is never live unless I tutor away Urborg, which I don't want to do. Oh, God, that's frustrating. All right. I mean, I need to make a land drop. I'll hit Dark Depths here. Pass turn. Crop rotation's dead. And Not of This World is only free when it targets something big. This is pretty miserable. All right. Cool. Yep. Yeah. Living Wish is bad. Like, the fact that the casting these Living Wishes has cost me like Lotus Petals and Spirit Guides is debilitating. I think I'm willing to concede to that. This is now 7 damage a turn. 7, 8, 9, 10, in fact, from the other plus. Yeah, I'm just dead on board. GG's. Okay, I slowly have 1/2 of my A plus B combo in hand and random protection. I don't think I keep this one. No green mana for crop rotation, and second Urborg is awkward. This is better than the first hand. I think I will accept this on 6. Hello. Am I thought seizing on 1? I think I'm thought seizing on 1. If it eats a daze, that makes the way for Vampire Hexmage to potentially resolve on turn 2. My opponent's hand doesn't do anything. Like, I take daze so Vampire Hexmage can resolve next turn. And then just Dark Depths, Vampire Hexmage, sorcery speed, make Merit Lodge. I am good with this. I don't think I am supposed to take Ponder and wait an additional turn. I think I'm supposed to just try to kill my opponent. Like, taking Ponder is tempting because then my opponent can't Ponder for Wasteland. But they shut themselves off of that line. Oh, fuck, I forgot about my own Urborg. Let's see if that bites me in the butt. It does. It doesn't. Nice. We are just sorcery speed doing this so that I don't get got by Wasteland. Him to Turok me. Just take a look at a couple more cards in my deck before you die. That's respectable. I probably misplayed there. Again, don't really have a sideboard. I could play Leyline of the Void to stop Troll Reanimate, which is probably faster on average than what my deck does. I don't expect to need Not of This World. My opponent's targeted removal will be things like Lightning Bolt and Snuff Out that aren't going to kill Merit Lodge. So that can probably go out. That can free up some number of slots, but like, Leyline is such a bad card to draw in the mid game. I can also just barred in a couple more mana sources. I honestly don't really hate that. Yeah, let's just straight up board in some extra lands and leave myself with the big 3 in the sideboard that I can tutor for. Yeah, this hand is perfectly reasonable. I am fine keeping this. All right, Grief is occurring. Grief can't take the core of my combo, but Grief can take my interaction. I personally had viewed Crop Rotation as the worst card in my hand. I guess I'm happy with that. All right. I would like to cast Thoughtseize this turn. That is not a good hand. Like, I'll take the Ponder from this hand and leave them with a hand that does nothing. Yep. I'm a little surprised that was a keep. We'll see. Well, the hand got better, that's for sure. I'm going to presume that Snuff Out is now gone. Okay, Reanimate Grief is exactly the sort of thing that my opponent would like to do. That gets to take my Pithing Needle. Bojuka Bog is a turn late. Let's just make a land drop and pass. My plan is to just naturally get up to 4 mana and Thespian Stage Dark Depths. Yes, that's fine. A Spirit Guide would be a wonderful draw. Duress is great too. I'll do that before making my land drop, I guess. I'm probably making Dark Depths as my land drop. I don't know, I could Bojuka Bog if I end up seeing like a Murktide over there. Sure, that's fine. So I will take Force of Will. I'm very surprised Snuff Out is still here. Yeah, so take Force. And then because they have Drown in the lock, I will go ahead and Bojuka Bog. Or does this target me? I should have targeted myself there. That's not great. All right. Awkward. Living Wish continues to suck because I can't actually like get the appropriate thing and then play it this turn. So I will Living Wish. Drown in the Lock is down. We'll pick up a Dark Depths, but again, I had to play the green to do that. My opponent has one unknown card though, so like they will get 2 cards to answer Merit Lage, which is pretty unlikely. Not impossible though. All right, Dark Depths pass. I believe I am supposed to do this in their upkeep so that they cannot wasteland it. Sure. That's fine. Thespian Stage, target Dark Depths. So my opponent has 1 random draw off the top here to get something that beats Merit Lage. Night's Whisper gives 2 more looks. Mystic Sanctuary. Probably not putting that on top. Putting that on top. Sure. Take 3. Right, I go to 4. I will attack you for 20. This flies too. And my opponent is dead. I don't really feel good about that win, but here we are. Alright, I only have colorless mana in this hand, so this one is an auto mulligan. Yeah, like I can play a Dark Depths and a Sylvan Safekeeper on turn 1, but then I need like Urborg specifically to go off. I'd rather go to 5. 5 looks something like this. Turn 1. Assuming that I am playing against a Goldfish, this is turn 1, crop rotation for Dark Depths, turn 2, Thespian Stage, double Spirit Guide, YOLO. And I accept. Jan, are you a Goldfish? Fuck, they're not a Goldfish. Yikes, okay. So if my opponent fetches, I'm going to respond with crop rotation. Nice. Fuck yeah. Dark Depths. Because I can now win without casting another spell. So counter spells are off, and okay, sure. And I have protection versus Wasteland. Looks like my opponent's on a bug deck. Edicts could be real. I believe that I ignore the existence of Wasteland and just play this and pass and try to punk my opponent in the end step. Another one, wow. I just like would very much prefer for my opponent to pass the turn without black mana available. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Show me an edict or you are dead. Double Spirit Guide. I guess Boseiju could happen, but that's unlikely to be in the mana base with this here, I think. All right. Risky Mold 5 gets there. Jan was a Goldfish confirmed. As we've established, I can't really sideboard. So yeah. I also didn't see enough of my opponent's deck to know whether or not they're like Bugged Elder or Bug Control. It's probably more controlling with Lorien Revealed being cycled, but we're kind of in a period of flux right now where people are trying some wild shit. So I think until I have more information, I am just going to whack the submit button. Actually not of this world. Really for the white decks. There's technically some blue bounce, but not a lot of it. I could play 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's pretty reasonable. Let's do that. The first time I've drawn this card. This is a 4-mana play, though, and I already have double Urborg in this hand, kind of making this hand a mulligan. Okay, it came back. I technically have everything that I need with this hand. I am okay keeping this. I'll need... Okay, I guess I need another green source because I have 4 mana, but I don't have green. Hey, a green source. So let's Pithing Needle. If this comes down, this is just Naming Wasteland. I just don't want to have to deal with that card. If I'm wrong and this does nothing, I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah. I don't know whether or not my opponent is a Daze deck yet. I think I'm willing to just shove here, considering that I can just get another one next turn. There's a C. Assassin's Trophy. Well, that's real good. We'll get the basic forest, I guess. And this game may transition into fair Vampire Hexmage beatdown. It just sucks because Orcish Bowmasters is a follow-up play that's really good now that normally... Okay, they do have Wasteland. Okay. Sure. Karakas means that Uro is not going to kill me, but 21 is a very important number, as you've probably realized by now. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, Matt. Yeah. Do I endurance myself? I don't think so. Because I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power worth of shit in hand. And kind of more than that. Like, this is just an 8/8. That potentially just wins me the game on its own. So I always attack, and then it gets more interesting from here. In terms of whether or not I endurance my opponent now. They don't have the proper mana to do cool things. I think I just endurance now. I think having more lands in play before I do this is nice. Ooh, good enough for a Force of Will. Understood. So my opponent 2 for 1 to themselves instead of it being an even trade if I use Spirit Guide in that turn cycle. Bowmasters is annoying here though. Like, and that's a reason to have cast to this one. Brainstorm's fine. Oh, sorry. My opponent took a long time to cast that spell, and BNR stuff just dropped. This will be old news by the time it reaches you all, though. But Preordain got unbanned in Modern, and Mind's Desire got unbanned in Legacy. Turn's fucking hard to play. Because if I flip this, I can use Karakas to protect it. But, like, Duress is also a thing. And so is Orcish Bowmasters. Alright. I think I'm going to go the Karakas route. Alright. X is 2 on this bad boy. Fuck. Force of Negation. So I gambled wrong. I think it's more likely that I have to play around a removal spell there than Force of Negation. I have now lost basically all my win conditions, though. Oh, it's casting some nonsense. What the fuck? No. No. Alright. Yeah. So at this point, 20 turns from now, I am going to lose to Uro. Like, I can bounce it, but my opponent just drawing the random cards off of it is going to be a pain in the ass. Alright, so Uro enters play. And I bounce it. I'm also going to just copy a random Bayou to smooth my mana out in case anything gets real weird. Cool. Another one card is Uro. There. Alright, there's Uro. We let it go to the graveyard this time to tax the graveyard as a resource. And then after that, when they ultimately return it, I'm okay getting rid of it. My opponent, in theory, has 3 blue sources, so this does not knock them off of anything meaningful. I am okay casting one of these here. There's already 5 cards in graveyard. Dress downs. Okay, I'll take one, leave my opponent with the other. They will probably just cast it to... Oh, no. The other one of these duresses, I probably hold until I go and cast a Living Wish to get a Collector Oof to try to beat my opponent to death with a 2/2. Yes. This is above 22 life, which changes the clock from my 2/2. Basically a dead card. I could technically use that to Ghost Quarter one of my opponent's blue sources. Alright. This is fucked up. Ghost Quarter. Ghost Quarter, Underground Sea. There's a snow-covered island. Oh, fuck! Wrong button. That's frustrating. Yeah, so that's supposed to attack a trop. Why the fuck are you cycling that when you could just draw 3? What are you doing? It's turn 9, Jan. Please. Draw 3 cards. Yep. I do have another Caracas in my deck. If I find another crop rotation. Opponent might have Force of Will. I'm just going to play that. Oh, I was supposed to buy you copy Caracas. Sorry, I'm fully checked out of this game. Sure. This game's miserable. I'm going to concede here. I'm not, like, technically dead. But I made a pretty savage misplay here. And, like, given that my opponent has card advantage in play now, I am okay. Like, we've been dead for 5 turns already, to be fair. Yeah, but at some point earlier in the league, I talked about how, like, having backup plans is important for if Dark Depths doesn't work for some reason, and that Surgical was a great example of that. I'd probably win that game if I duress prior to Invasion of Ikoria, but, like, again, playing around the Snuff Out type cards is probably better than playing around exactly Force plus blue cards there. So it's like 2 things required to beat me versus 1 thing required to beat me. Well, this punches holes quite hard, but doesn't actually present a win in any sort of timely fashion, and I don't want to drag the game on versus this opponent. This hand, what does it do? My opponent's upkeep, play this crop rotation for Dark Depths. Attempt to win on turn 2 is reasonable. Alternatively, I can slow roll it and do Living Wish nonsense. I'm going to keep it. The Endurance goes back into the deck. That's just not going to be a castable card. Play Boseiju. I think I am going to go for speed here and attempt the crop rotation. Nice. Yeah, Dark Depths. We'll see if I get punished for playing around Counterspell setup by Wasteland happening. We do not. Ooh. That's a good draw for if I have to try again later. Alright, there's the oh shit emergency brainstorm. We're in play. I'm supposed to activate this now to play around Wasteland. So we'll see if my opponent has an Edict. That's the thing that beats me. And they need to have it in hand. They cannot cantrip for it. Island cycling probably leaves them dead. They would have to have a weird Chain of Vapor type card. Alright, we have gotten the GG from our opponent. And that means we put up a 3-2 finish in this league. So I think it's pretty obvious what I think about Living Wish. So we can kind of skip that part and let's just kind of do a little bit of a debrief here. I think that playing a Depths deck that looks anything like this, and I think I mean even removing Living Wish and just trying to play a Turbo Depths strategy, is probably just not a great idea in Legacy right now. I think the alternate win conditions are really important. Focused deck building is often something that leads to success, but I think the plan A is often slow enough and disruptible enough from enough different angles that having a plan B for this specific deck is very important. And Living Wish wasn't able to get me Sylvan Safekeeper when I needed it in a couple of different scenarios. And Not of This World was a card that I was never able to cast in this entire league. And ultimately, I think the utility depths that Tarmogoyf Sucks, the donor, put together here is probably just not an ideal approach to this deck list when compared to something like a green-white depths or maybe a Naya depths deck list that splashes for Minsk and Boo. That's kind of where my head was at. If you want to play something that looks like this, I would cut all the copies of Living Wish, and I would go for more copies of these. This gives you an alternate thing to do with Vampire Hexmage, which maybe that ends up being good enough, but then you're not going nearly as fast as the current build. I don't know how strongly I can, truly recommend that. But regardless, folks, I hope you enjoyed. Throw your thoughts down below about the build itself, and if you end up needing any cards, please check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!